Hello, good evening, and welcome to tonight's Talking Balls with myself, Charlie Mullen. Joining me in the studio tonight, I have Ben Towes, Sean French, Nick Quantrill, Ian Tomlinson, and Dan Tomlinson. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Charlie.
We have so much to talk about. Between now and 7 o'clock, we will talk about yesterday's derby, we will talk about Hull City at Wembley on Saturday, and we will talk about North Ferriby's managerial situation. Let's start with the derby from yesterday. Most of us were there. Cracking game from start to finish. Ian, let's start with you. What pleased you the most? How was it for you?
What pleased me the most? The atmosphere, I think. Our team responded. Rubbers were in our faces, and there's no ifs and buts about that. Tried to knock us out of our stride. Some of the tactics I personally don't like, but there you go. But the way we came back from what can only be described as a shock at going 16-10 down, being 10-0 up, the way the fans rallied the team responded, and we found a new standoff. We do not need to recruit. Carlos was absolutely sublime when he came on yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Dan Tomlinson, with the win, Hull FC moved top of the Super League table. You run a fanzine, don't you? What's it called?
Up the cream.
So I guess you could say the cream always rises to the top.
The third
I'm surprised.
Come on.
Surprised.
Charlie, you are the third person that said that to me today.
But the first on air.
First on air, yeah.
How pleasing was it for you to be there?
Fantastic.
Because it's the first time, I believe, and I know they went top after the first game last season when they beat Huddersfield 19-0, but as far as I know, they've never been top of the Super League midway through the season.
Not midway through the season. I mean, I'm going back to yesterday now. A decade ago, we went top at Huddersfield when Paul McNicholas scored in a 20-0 win. That is testing Stato's knowledge there, but yeah, that went top there. That was only about 8 or 9 games in though, so to go top mid-season, literally at the halfway point, is fantastic. I mean, when you think, and I hate to keep mentioning this, but you think back 12 weeks ago when we got beat by Widnes, that scoreline, and the dressing room talk which happened then, that sums Hull FC up. That ability to accept that they know they were shocking that night, and then they had that chat with themselves and they said some own truths, and since then they've been absolutely sensational. They've won 10 out of 11 games now, so it's a remarkable one, and it's a credit to Lee Bradford. He's got that team playing the way he wants them to play. The squad is just ridiculous. I mean, we talk about Frank Pritchard. Ben Towell said off air that he made no impact on Sunday, came on, got injured. You look at Minicello, Manu, Garafelli, Scott Taylor, Liam Watts was all outstanding. The team togetherness right now with Taylor leading the way is just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Walking back to the car park yesterday, Sean, gave me a bit of time to update the graphic that I posted the last couple of derbies. You know, the badge of the winning team, and said that no team had won 4 Super League derbies in a row.
Yeah.
That's now the case. Hull FC 4 in a row.
Yeah.
What pleased you the most?
I think the adaptability of the team. We took an early lead, which was good to see. Then we started to get drawn into some pretty rough tactics that was not in the spirit of the game, shall we say. We got drawn down that line, but we changed. We seemed to change at half time. We decided we're going to try and play rugby. They're not going to let us play rugby, but we're going to try. And we did. We threw the ball out wide. We were faster at the play of the ball, and you could see the tempo of the game increasing after half time. I watched it back this afternoon. Managed to quickly get an hour to scroll through it, and that was the most pleasing part for me. Other than the fact that the forwards really stood up and were counted again this week.
Mm-hmm. Ben, we'll come on to Hull KR in a moment's time, but Dan, what about the team selection? Let's go back to the very beginning. Were you pleased with the team that Lee Bradford selected?
Yes, yeah. If you look back to that Wigan game, and it must have been absolutely horrible for him to go to a couple of blokes and say, "You're not playing," after performing so well at Wigan. Carlos coming in, well, obviously that proved instrumental, didn't he? Having him on the bench, I mean, it was, like Ian rightly said, it was phenomenal when he came on, game changer for me. So, yeah, you could say the team selection was right. I mean, you got starting props, Pritchard coming off the bench, although he didn't have the same impact he usually does. I mean, to have him there is a luxury in itself. I mean, you can't really complain too much. The team picks itself at the moment. I mean, when you win 10 games out of 11, I'll never stop saying that tonight. It picks itself, doesn't it? I mean, Radford hasn't got that much change to do. I mean, you look at the other hand, James Webster's had a nightmare with injuries and we've all piled up, and he hasn't had that luxury Radford has right now. So I don't think he made any mistakes with the team selection at all.
Mm-hmm. Ian, just before you make your point, as Dan said, Frank Pritchard only 15 metres from 3 carries. He was injured, dead leg apparently, but it shows that Hull FC, I should say, can win without relying on the likes of Frank Pritchard. There's other players who can step up and fill that void.
Absolutely. You look at the second row yesterday. Second row was immense. Sika Manu was just an animal, I thought personally yesterday. going forward, protecting his centre. He was, I can't use the words I want to use, but he
Thank
was
you.
definitely an absolute animal. He controlled that right-hand edge for us, and it gave the likes of Fanua space, time and energy, because he was doing a lot of the dirty work, the graft. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't only him doing it, but he was creating energy for the people around him. And it's got to be said, that's what Ellis does on the other side. And the fact that you had him on both sides, all right, Ellis was more in the middle at times yesterday, and we had Minicello doing that, but that's the most pleasing thing for me, the fact that we had energy for people like Fanua.
When you've got someone like Washbrook who can come on, play through the middle and still take the ball up, yet have the slickness to distribute. I mean, 20-25 yard passes out is ridiculous at the moment. I mean, Washbrook is going under the radar at LFC right now, but he's up there with our top performers. I mean, Jack Salt will love me for saying this. He's up there with the sign of the season. Obviously, he's not at Scott Taylor's level, but he's been instrumental for LFC, and it's the little things that you don't see in games which Washbrook does 9 times out of 10.
Sean, do you think now that Hull FC are top of Super League, they will get the recognition from the likes of Sky and the national media?
Well, I'm hoping so, because it's on merit.
Mm-hmm.
We're not always having to rely on other teams. If we take into account the fact that we've lost a couple of games by the slimmest of margins, you bring those to the table, we're 5-6 points clear of those. And that in itself is a huge achievement, especially when you've got Warrington and the Catalans nipping at your heels. Wakefield is slowly but surely coming up as well. Massive raps to them. I've thoroughly enjoyed the game on Saturday, the Wakey Catalan one, obviously because Jacob Miller slotted the drop goal over, which was very pleasing as a Hull fan, because I really like the guy.
Mm-hmm. Ben, we'll move on to Rovers, as I said, but from a Hull FC point of view, the team selection beforehand, were you happy? Did you think Rovers had a chance?
Was that Rovers team selection?
No, Hull FC.
It's always going to be difficult. You look at that Hull FC, there's just that Hull FC team, there's quality all the way through it. And it was always going to be difficult. We knew that from the start, and it proved too much in the end with the quality they've got. They just about saw it out. But I think, as Dan said, I think the turning point was bringing on Carlos Tanavavi. He was absolutely insane yesterday. I've got to give credit to him. He set up two of the tries that basically won FC the game, so fair play.
Mm-hmm. Nick, bring you in at this point. It's always good having a nice feisty derby to talk about, isn't it?
Of course it is. I mean, this narrative that this nasty Rovers team trampled over the delicate flows of the LFC team, it's a bit laughable, isn't it? All teams.
You sound like a writer.
Yeah, you have to. We know Rovers aren't the same level as LFC this season, so you've got to get in the opposition's faces and make it difficult for them and do what you can. And there'll be times this season when LFC play like that, because they'll have to. They'll be on the ropes at various points, and they'll dig in and do what they have to do to get points. So no. The best team won, but Rovers do a good go, I think.
The argument there is you've got Terry Campese, well played Jamie Shaw in the face, Sean Lunt, who dumped Liam Watts on his head, and yet Scott Taylor gets put on report for what, Sean? I mean, you are head of rugby discipline.
Wasn't it?
It's still an absolute farce. I mean, Taylor gets put on report for that, and with what Rovers were doing in that opening.
Well, 5 minutes later, it happened to Shaw as well. He slipped.
Yeah, nothing
and
happened.
He got something to him, but. If you listen to Silverwood's commentary on the pitch, he said he had to go on report. It was a head. It hit the head as he'd gone down. He said it was a complete accident. He even said himself it has to go on report because there's a head injury involved. Which, fair enough, yeah, they've got to be looked at all angles. But there was no way Scott Taylor was going to pull out that tackle.
No.
It was in front of us, wasn't it? Right in front of the sticks.
So
right
what
in front
annoyed
of
me
us.
is he didn't blow his whistle until the guy was injured. I think it was Thomas Means, and he
It
didn't.
was.
Didn't blow the whistle until he was injured. Until then it was play on, and that's been the same as a lot of cases this year. I mean, all fans hate me for always mentioning this, but you go back to John Berebsa, and he got a 4-game ban because Michael Shenton got injured. I don't care
Which we
what
thought was diabolical.
I don't care what anyone says. He got the ban because of that injury, and
Yeah.
it seems to be now if you injure someone, you get banned for it, even if it's fair or not fair, which is ludicrous.
Mm-hmm. Nick, we always compare one season to another, and obviously 2016 has got a very similar feel to it as 2006 when Hull FC last made the grand final. They're 2 points better off at this stage after 15 games than then. Do you see them going on and making the grand final?
Well, it's becoming a worry, isn't it? A little bit. No. I mean, the Sands looking promising at the LFC. You can't deny that. It's a strong squad. They're going extremely well, and I think they've got a chance. But I just worry. I know we keep spinning this scenario about the dressing room thing that it was a good thing for LFC, but I don't think it was. I really don't. That these players were in the faces, saying we're in charge and the manager isn't. I don't think that could come back and bite them yet.
Ian?
I actually don't think that was the case. I think what the meeting was about was the fact that they performed so poorly. Some people that night tried a little bit more than others did, but overall we were woeful. And the players realised that, and what they wanted to do was they want to get that in the open, talk about it, say, look, this isn't acceptable, we're a better team than this, what the heck are we doing? And I think that's what happened.
I don't think that's the way of doing it. I don't think that's. I think
Well,
Radford should have been always safe first, and the players are right to debate it with themselves.
He already
but
had
I
his
don't
words.
think- I don't think
Radford had already spoken to him. This was as players do. I mean, players when they shower after they've had the coach's debrief, they'll talk to each other all the time. This was an honest assessment. I mean, you can't tell me that even back then there was a rift between coach and player. Lee Radford has probably got the dressing room more than any Hull FC coach has had in my lifetime. I'm pretty sure Sean will back that up.
Yeah.
There was nothing in it at all for me.
No.
If you want to join the discussion here in the studio, you can do. Send us a tweet at HullKRFM, or you can send us a text with 1HK to 60777. Sean.
Yeah, just going back to Ian's point about the so-called dressing room lockout. If we take it in the context of the games that came after that and the performances we've put in since then you can understand why they were that annoyed with themselves that they said, right, we're going to sort this out ourselves. If it means giving each other a lock-in for 2 hours and kicking hell out of each other, then we're going to do it. It's worked. You know, Radford said the wrong thing to the press at the wrong time, and it was taken out of context. The press are going to jump on it and basically hound
Because it's
him.
a headline.
Yeah, typical press. Sorry, Charlie. But yeah, it's because it was a head coach, is a new head coach. You know, they're going to try and find skeletons in closets, and they went on.
Mm-hmm. Last season, Sean, one thing that Hull FC were guilty of was making breaks but not finishing them. Well, that's certainly not the case this year. They are finishing every break that they make, more or
We
less.
were also terrible in the 20. We had no options. We had no clue in the 20. This is where Mark Sneed had to step up. He really had to earn his corn this season, and fair play to the guy he has. We've been scoring tries from all over the park, as we saw with Jamie Scholl's finish yesterday, which was outstanding. We can score close to the sticks, and we can score long distance tries, and that's, I think, what scares the opposition.
Dan, you like your stats, don't you?
Oh, I love them.
Not as good as me, though.
Hey,
Jamie Scholl's try yesterday, I worked out to be the 3,500th point scored in the Magic weekend.
Oh,
that's
bravo.
pretty
So,
good.
beat that. And on that note, we'll take a quick break.